Okay, everyone, I'm going to give a quick breakdown, a very quick lowdown on pretty much how we put the movie together, all in Unreal Engine. So I'm going to load up the project, which is here, 426. That's right, we made this entire movie in Unreal Engine 4.26.2, actually, you can see up there. Okay, now that's loaded up, let's load up the level. So let's bring that over here. I've got two screens, so you're going to notice me dragging things onto the screen right here. Quick thing, one thing that we did was we really had a good folder structure set up, and you can see that making a feature film, there's a lot involved, right? So, but the levels, we treated each location in the movie as a level. So we have Ava's office, Axion EXT, establishing shots, rooftops, so on. I'm not going to go through all of them because that will be a massive spoiler in the movie. But I'll load up one example, for example, and I think I'll load up the really cool, heavy one, which is, I would say, the rooftop level. Okay, let's load that one up. Okay, now that the level's loaded up, let's have a look. So this is our main level here. We try to keep it quite optimized because it's a very stylized project. I'm going to kind of go through a little bit on how we create the stylized look. But this is essentially the rooftops action sequence, which is pretty cool. So let's load up a shot. So what we did was we go to cinematics. We create a folder called cinematics, and we kind of label the shots as we would in visual effects. So scene 11, shot 10, and then 11, 12, 13, 14 in between. It's very easy to manage. But if we go into the folders, so again, each of the locations, each of these folders for the cinematic reflect the location, and location is the level, right? So in our case, we want to have Axion Rooftop, which is here. So these are all the shots in the Axion Rooftop um, sequence and level. This is like every single shot in the entire movie that takes place on the rooftop is in here. So for example, if we go to, say, Ava's office, that's every single shot in the movie that takes place in Ava's office is in here. And the reason we did this is so that we had different artists working on different locations, and we had a level of consistency through all the shots that way. Now, I'm sure everyone else does it a little bit differently, but that's kind of how we did it on our end to be able to manage all the teams working remotely. So let's go back to our level, which is rooftop. Let's go down here. No, actually, it's Axion rooftop. There we go, Axion EXT rooftop. And let's load up a shot. Let's load up, I'm going to show one that is a little bit crazy in terms of the action sequence. So I would say something a bit like this one. Let's load that one up. Okay, and I'm just going to run it so you get to see what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you my sequencer file. So let's go to the camera, and let's go here. So this is all running in real time. You can see here, lots of action, boom, boom. Yep, there we go. Okay, so let's see what that sequencer file looks like. Wow. Okay, so actually a little fun fact about this, and this is kind of like reflective on how cool working in real time is the fact that this entire sequence I pretty much made it up in Unreal. Like in the script, it was like an action sequence takes place on the roof, and originally I had some shot lists drawn up to pretty much show like all different cuts. But as I was doing it, I thought it would be really cool to just do it as a big one-up, because the whole idea of the movie is we're following this one character's journey throughout all the various multiverses. I'm going to try my best not to give spoilers here. But I really love the idea that the camera is kind of reflective of the character. So I thought it'd be cool just to keep with that character throughout and do like a single Children of Men style camera move or Birdman style camera move. So let's see what that looks like in Sequencer. So if I bring my Sequencer file here nicely. All right. Actually, you know what? Let's just move it up here so we see the whole thing. Okay. So this is my sequencer file for that shot. Make it like that. And so there's a lot of layers in here. So we have our animation layers for our characters. We have a lot of keyframes here, a lot of keyframes. So we do obviously all our mocap is brought in, so our Xsense mocap's brought in. And then what we do is we just if I just right click on one, I'll show you what one property is. So this is one of the mocap sequences one of the mocap we did. All here like that, Leon gun attack. And we do a lot of motion mixing as well. But we also, what we did was we actually, for example, this one, we broke up the characters in terms of animation channels into various channels, basically. So this is Leon here, and in Leon, if you look at the animation file here, this is the default slot, and the default slot is the entire mocap, the entire body, action, and everything, right? But and then we've got another track here, which is hand. So we created some sort of prefix in the blueprint that allows us to access just a hand socket on the character. And when we tag in hands, we can actually have the gun. So we can just have the hand movement of this here like that. There we go. So we can have a different body animation, but we can have the gun hand animation here. So, if we would do it, I can motion mix that to have a different hand, like a fist or something, which is very good for like fight sequences, especially since we did everything very separately. We did XN's body, not necessarily hands on some sessions because the budget's very tight. So we did hands separately. Like we use either iClone's Puppet Tool for gesture, or we would just use the Manus gloves. Like Gabriella would have Manus gloves for us, and she'll just do a bunch of hands for us, and we'll just then map them back on here. But we also have a different channel for the facial expressions as well, or the mouth. So that would be on the head. So again, like if we just look at that, that's what that looks like. Okay, so you can see here if I zoom in, whoops, not too much. Okay, like that. There we go. You see here, this is just the face. Actually, he's obviously saying something. I forgot what the line is, but he's saying something pretty explicit, probably. But we're able to do the facial capture. So we use iClone to do the facial animation, and then we bring that in as an FBX, and then we line it up into the socket, which is called head, and then therefore we can swap out facial expressions. So that's pretty much how all the animation for all the characters are done in this movie this way. We go down a bit more here. We got that stuff like the helicopter here. We can control whether the door is opened or not, and they're all skeletal meshes. So, I mean, we even have lights as well, so we can drag lights in. So the way we work is we light the level in a certain way, which means that we have a base lighting for the level, but then all the individual shots will have their unique lighting. Like the lighting will be specific to the SWAT team or the characters, or we may want to light the character's face in a certain way. Like around here, for example, because we want to see a bit more highlights. And we wouldn't do that in the level. We just drag and drop that in the sequencer, and then we'll manage that on a shot per shot basis. Also, like I think the characters also have different lighting channels. So let's have a look. Let's type in channels. There you go. So there's different lighting channels. So like lighting channel 0 will be like the entire environment lighting. But if we had a specific spotlight just for the eyes or just for the face, we don't want it to affect anything else, then we put it in channel 1. So lighting channels really helped us out massively on this, because it meant that we can have different lighting artists working on just the character stuff and the lighting artists working on environments, or something I would go in and want to tweak stuff. Or if there's a muzzle flash that's going past the face and we want the muzzle flash just to affect the skin, we could do that as well. So there's a lot of control having this kind of way of working. And as a director, especially a hands-on director, I pretty much like have control on literally everything. So I can have my thumbprint on literally every single shot just by doing the tweaks, as opposed to writing long notes for artists to do the tweaks. So I'd rather them do the stuff that I can't do very well, or can't do at all. So here's another example of the motion mixing here we did here. If I just like zoom in, so you can see here we got an animation of someone, the knee signaling, and then we motion mix to running, then we motion mix some kung fu. And some of these also weren't even like mocap that we did. Some of these mocap, we actually bought mocap libraries from the marketplace. Amazing mocap libraries out there. And in the movie, we've credited a lot of the asset packs we use. Even though we don't use them vanilla, we still credited them, because without those asset packs, we wouldn't even have something to start with to block the shots with. But this gives you an idea of the amount of motion mixing we go from soldier, knee pad kick to death flying back, and this entire thing here. So now that you've seen this motion mix structure and how we put this together, I'll show you what that actually looks like. So let me see if I can just show you at the same time. There we go. Like this. So if we just see what is the SWAT team that's getting attacked here. Have a look. This SWAT team here. Okay. So the one that's highlighted in yellow, that's the one called a motion mix, right? So if we go all the way from the beginning, let's see what that SWAT guy's doing. There he is. So that's in the knee animation, and he's running. Now he's in run animation, and now we motion mix him getting hit, and we motion mix him getting killed. There he is again. And also what we did was we did a kind of like a bit of a low budget trick, like low budget filmmaking. Sometimes, because all these SWAT teams look the same, right? Sometimes, if it's the same SWAT team being used twice, so like if he's getting killed here, so you can see here, he's getting battered and he's flown off the screen over there, right? So he's flown off the screen, right? Now, if we watch carefully, he's actually back up, but you don't realize it's the same guy. You think that's just another SWAT team, and he also gets killed again. So that allowed us to like save on memory management. Even though it's a movie and we're rendering it out, we kind of want to be working as much real time as possible, like 60 frames per second. So we did a lot of trickery, where we just do like the typical swap and just reuse a lot of those characters again because once they go off frame, they're off frame, right? But yeah, I mean that's pretty much how we actually did a lot of this. And you have things like explosions going off and bullet hits, like muzzle flash triggering off the muzzle flash. So if I just click on that muzzle flash there, let's have a look. There we are. That's the muzzle flash. And we see where that is in sequencer. There it is here. And you can see here in sequencer, I've actually timed when it deactivates, when it activates, when it deactivates. So I have a lot of control. And the reason why I think as a director, hands-on director, to be able to put a movie like this where I control every single shot is because having an editorial background helps. And I think to be able to work in sequencer and treat it like it's an editorial timeline, it's so much more easy to get your head around sequencer, and just really treat it like you're a composer and this is your orchestra and you can do everything in sequencer. Like I literally, my day to day on this movie was literally living in sequencer. I also want to do a bit of a shout out here. These amazing fire elements were actually from Action VFX. I mean, big shout out to the Action VFX guys for helping us out on this movie in terms of providing those elements for us to use in real time in Unreal. And that, my friends, is how a shot is put together.